The stars looked different from the bridge of the Eternal Resolve. Captain Jinha pressed his hand against the cold metal wall and felt the ship's heartbeat through his palm. This was not just any ship. This was a living thing, grown from human dreams and alien metal, powered by the will to survive. Jinha was 38 years old. His dark hair was starting to show gray at the sides. His hands were steady, but his eyes held the weight of terrible knowledge. He knew things that would make the galaxy tremble. "Captain," a soft voice spoke from the walls around him. "We are getting close to the Epsilon system. Should I wake the crew?" The voice belonged to Harin. She was not standing beside him, but she was there all the same. Her mind lived inside the ship now, spread through every wire and circuit. She had died 3 years ago when her body failed, but her brain had been saved. Now she was the ship's soul. "Not yet," Jinha said quietly. "Let them sleep a little longer. They will need their strength soon." He walked to the big window that showed the stars. Out there, somewhere in the dark, other ships were moving. Ships that belonged to the Galactic Council. Ships that were going to hurt innocent people. The Galactic Council ruled most of the galaxy. They had done so for 3,000 years. They thought they knew everything about every planet, every star, every species that lived among the stars. They kept lists of who was alive and who was dead. In their files, humans were listed as extinct species number 4847. According to their records, Earth had burned in nuclear fire 200 years ago. Every human was supposed to be dead. The council had forgotten about them completely. They were wrong. Jinha turned away from the window and walked down the long hallway. The walls around him were not smooth metal like other ships. They looked almost alive, with patterns that moved and changed like breathing. The ship was part machine, part living thing. It had been grown as much as built. He passed sleeping quarters where his crew rested. There were only 200 humans on this massive ship. The Eternal Resolve was 5 kilometers long, big enough to hold a city, but it did not need thousands of people to run it. The ship could think for itself. "Harin," he said as he walked, "show me the files again." Pictures appeared on the walls around him. Images of a small planet called Epsilon 7. It was a peaceful world where humans had built a new home. They grew food, raised children, and lived simple lives. They had never hurt anyone. "The Council fleet will reach them in 6 hours, Harin said. Her voice was sad. "They plan to destroy the colony and take the planet for themselves." Jinha stopped walking. His hands closed into fists. "They call it a cleansing operation." They think the colonists are just primitives who got lost in space. "They do not know the colonists are human," Harin said. "No, they do not know we exist." Jinha reached the bridge. It was a large room filled with screens and controls. But most of the ship was controlled by thought, not buttons. The bridge was more like a place to think and plan. He sat in the captain's chair. It was warm and seemed to shape itself to fit his body. The ship knew him. It had been waiting for him to return. "Quan," he called out. A young man appeared on one of the screens. Quan was 25 years old, with quick hands and a brilliant mind. He was the ship's chief engineer, but he worked with living systems, not dead metal. "Captain," Quan said, "the bio-neural networks are running perfectly." "The ship is ... excited." Jinha raised an eyebrow. "Excited?" "It knows we are going into danger. The ship wants to protect our people. I can feel it in the neural patterns." This was what made human ships different. Other species built machines that followed orders. Humans had learned to grow ships that could think and feel. The Eternal Resolve was not just a weapon. It was a guardian, a protector, a friend. "Harin," Jinha said, "tell me about the enemy fleet." The wall screens lit up with images of alien ships. They were sleek and powerful, built by races that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The Vorthic Empire's ships looked like giant insects made of black metal. The crystalline collective's vessels were beautiful, made of living crystal that caught and reflected light. The Neural Syndicate's ships were smooth and white, controlled by minds linked together. 47 ships, Harin reported. 3 battle cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 32 support vessels. They are commanded by Admiral Thekvar of the Vorthik Empire. Jinha had heard that name before. Thekvar was famous for his victories. He had destroyed entire civilizations without losing a single ship. He was proud, cruel, and very dangerous. He thinks this will be easy, Jinha said. A simple mission to wipe out primitives. He has never fought humans before, Harin said. No. No one has. Not the real humans. Not us. Jinha stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, the ship hummed with power. Deep in its heart, engines that bent space and time waited for his command. Weapons that could tear holes in reality were ready to fire. Armor that could learn and adapt covered every surface. But the most important thing was not the ship's power. It was the will of the people who flew it. Humans had learned something in their long exile among the stars. They had learned that the strongest weapon was not a gun or a bomb. It was the refusal to give up. 200 years ago, our homeworld nearly died, Jinha said to the empty air. Wars, pollution, hatred, most of us died. The survivors left Earth and scattered across the galaxy. They thought we were broken. They thought we were finished. He smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator showing its teeth. They were wrong. We did not break. We became something new. We learned to make our machines live. We learned to make our ships think. We learned to cheat death itself. Captain, Quan's voice came from the speakers. The ship is ready. All systems are at full power. And the crew? They are waking up? They know it is time? Jinha nodded. Around him, the ship began to change. The walls became transparent, showing the stars outside. The floor beneath his feet pulsed with the rhythm of a great heart. The eternal resolve was coming alive. Harin, he said. Set course for the Epsilon system? Maximum speed? Course laid in, Captain. We will arrive in 4 hours. Good. Signal the other ships. Tell them it is time to come home. On the screens, dots of light appeared in the darkness, other ships hidden in the void between stars. Ships. Like the eternal resolve, grown from human dreams and alien nightmares, they had been waiting for this moment for decades. Captain, Harin said softly, are you ready to show the galaxy what we have become? Jinha sat back in his chair. Outside, space began to bend and twist as the ship prepared to jump. Soon they would emerge near Epsilon 7. Soon the galaxy would learn that humanity was not extinct. Yes, he said, it is time they remembered our name. The stars stretched into lines of light. The eternal resolve and its sister ships disappeared into the space between spaces, carrying with them the dreams and fury of a species that had refused to die. Behind them, the galaxy continued its slow dance around distant suns, unaware that everything was about to change. In a few hours, the peace of 3,000 years would be shattered by the return of humanity's children, and in the deepest files of the Galactic Council, a computer program noticed something strange. For just a moment, sensors had detected movement in empty space. But when it looked again, there was nothing there. The program marked it as a sensor error and deleted the file. It was the last mistake the galaxy would make about humanity. Admiral Thekvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms that moved like the legs of a spider. His red eyes looked at the screens showing the small planet below. Epsilon 7, he said. To his crew? Another worthless rock with primitives who think they can hide from the Council. His second-in-command, a creature with blue crystals growing from its head, nodded. The scans show about 50,000 life forms. They have basic technology. This will be easy. Thekvar had done this 1,000 times before. Find a planet with resources the Council wanted. Check if anyone lived there. If they did, remove them. It was simple work. Begin the attack, he ordered. I want this finished before lunch. The fleet moved forward. 47 ships, each one larger than a city block. Their weapons began to charge with deadly energy. The primitives on the planet below had no idea what was coming. That was when space itself began to scream. The first sign was the alarms. Every sensor on every ship started making noise at the same time. The space around them was doing something. Impossible. It was bending, twisting, tearing like paper. "What is that?" Degvar shouted over the noise. His crew scrambled to check their instruments. The readings made no sense. Space was breaking apart right in front of them. "Sir," the crystal-headed officer said, his voice shaking, "something is coming through. Something big." A hole opened in space. It was not like the normal holes ships used to travel between stars. This was different. This was angry. Dark energy poured out of it like blood from a wound. Then the eternal resolve emerged. The ship was 5 kilometers of living, metal and organic curves. Its hull was covered in patterns that moved and changed like breathing skin. Lights pulsed along its sides like veins carrying glowing blood. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The alien fleet froze, and their computers tried to scan the massive ship, but the readings were impossible. The vessel was partially organic, partially machine, partially something else entirely. "Unknown vessel," Admiral Vekvar said into his communicator. His voice was not as steady as before. "You have entered Council space. Identify yourself or be destroyed." The response came immediately. The voice was calm, human, and absolutely terrifying in its confidence. "I am Captain Jinha of the Terran Defense Force. You are targeting human civilians. Withdraw immediately." The bridge of the Dominator went silent. Every alien on every ship felt their blood turn cold. "Human," the word echoed through their minds. "Like a curse. Impossible," Vekvar whispered. "Humans are extinct. They died 200 years ago." "Sir?" his sensor officer said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The ship ... It's not just metal, it's alive, it's thinking." On the bridge of the Eternal Resolve, Captain Jinha stood calmly. Around him the ship hummed with excitement. Haran's voice came from the walls. "Their weapons are charging," she sighed. "They are going to attack. Let them," Jinha said. "Show them what we have learned." Quan appeared on the communication screen. His face was excited. "Captain, the bioneural networks are fully active. The ship is ready to adapt to anything they throw at us." Jinha nodded. "All crew, prepare for combat. Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every human who ever refused to give up." The alien fleet opened fire. 47 ships released their fury at once. Plasma beams that could melt mountains. Energy torpedoes that could crack moons. Weapons that twisted reality itself. The space around the Eternal Resolve lit up like a new sun. The attack lasted for 30 seconds. When the light faded, the aliens expected to see nothing but debris. Instead, the human ship hung in space, completely undamaged. "Impossible," Vekvar said again. But his voice was different now. It was the voice of someone who had just seen. A ghost. On the Eternal Resolve, Jinha watched his ship's hull ripple and change. Where the alien weapons had hit, new armor had grown. The ship had not just survived the attack. It had learned from it. "Haran," he said, "analysis. Their weapons are powerful but predictable," she replied. "The ship has adapted to their energy patterns. We are now immune to their attacks. And their defenses? Outdated. They rely on static shields and rigid armor. They have not evolved in centuries," Jinha smiled. "Then let's show them what evolution looks like." The Eternal Resolve began to move. Despite its massive size, it moved like a living thing. It twisted and turned through space with impossible grace. The alien ships tried to track it, but their targeting systems could not keep up. "Fire everything," Vekvar screamed. "Destroy that thing." The alien fleet fired again and again. But the human ship was no longer where their weapons were aimed. It flowed through space like water, like wind, like something that had learned to dance with death itself. Then the Eternal Resolve began to fight back. Its weapons were not like anything the aliens had ever seen. Beams of energy that seemed to think for themselves, curving around obstacles to hit their targets. Projectiles that phased through shields as if they were not there. Weapons that did not just destroy, but learned and adapted with each shot. The first alien ship to die was a destroyer. The human weapon hit it and seemed to study it for a moment. Then the ship simply came apart, its pieces floating away like leaves in the wind. How? Dekvar asked the empty air. How are they doing this? On the human ship, Quan watched his screens with amazement. Captain, the ship is not just fighting. It is learning. Each enemy vessel it encounters, it studies their weaknesses. It is becoming smarter with each battle. That is what makes us human, Jinha said. We adapt, we learn. We become more than we were. The battle continued, but it was not really a battle. It was a lesson. The eternal resolve moved through the alien fleet like a teacher among students. Some ships it destroyed quickly, others it disabled, leaving them helpless but alive. This is impossible, Vekvar said for the third time. We are the most advanced species in the galaxy. We have ruled for 3,000 years. How can primitives defeat us? His answer came from Captain Jinha himself. The human's face appeared on every screen in the alien fleet. You call us primitives? Jinha said. You are wrong. We are not primitive. We are something you have forgotten how to be. We are survivors. Behind him, the walls of his ship pulsed with organic light. The vessel was alive, thinking, feeling. It was not just a machine. It was a partner, a friend, a piece of humanity's soul made real. You have grown soft? Jinha continued. You have forgotten what it means to fight for your life. You have forgotten. What it means to refuse to die, we have not forgotten. We have spent 200 years learning, growing, becoming something new. Around the eternal resolve, more holes in space began to open. Other ships emerged. Ships like the eternal resolve? Each one unique, each one alive. The human fleet had arrived. We are not extinct, Jinha said. We are evolved. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us. We are the descendants of a species that looked at death and said no. Vekvar's flagship shuddered as a human. Weapon hit its shields. The shields held, but barely. Around him, his crew worked frantically to understand what they were facing. Admiral, his second-in-command said. Orders? Vekvar looked at the screens. The human ships moved like living things. They fought like nothing he had ever seen. They were beautiful and terrible and completely alien, even though they came from a species that was supposed to be dead. Send a message to the council, he said quietly. Tell them we have made contact with humanity. Tell them they are not extinct. Tell them. He paused, watching as another of his ships was gently disabled by a human weapon that seemed to know exactly where to hit to cause the least damage. Tell them we are in trouble. The message went out across the galaxy at the speed of light. But it would take time to reach the council worlds. Time that Admiral Vekvar did not think he had dot in space around him. The human ships continued their deadly dance. They were not just fighting. They were making a statement. They were announcing to the galaxy that humanity had returned, and they were no longer the weak, primitive species that had once lived on a single blue world. They were something new. Something that had learned to turn their own destruction into evolution. Something that had learned to make their ships live. Their weapons think, and their will to survive into the deadliest force in the galaxy. The emergence had begun. Admiral Vekvar had fought in 100 battles. He had seen planets burn and stars die. He had commanded fleets that could destroy entire solar systems. But he had never seen anything like this. The human ships moved through space like they were dancing. Not the stiff, predictable movements of normal warships, but fluid, graceful, alive. They twisted and turned around his fleet's weapons as if they could see the future. All ships, he ordered into his communicator. Focus fire on the largest vessel. Pour everything we have into it. The alien fleet obeyed. Every weapon they had turned toward the eternal resolve. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids. Quantum torpedoes that could tear holes in reality. Energy beams that made stars look dim. The space around the human ship became a storm of destruction. The light was so bright that the alien crews had to close their eyes. The energy release was so powerful that it bent space itself. When the attack ended, smoke and fire filled the void. The aliens waited, hoping to see debris floating in space. Instead, they saw something impossible. The eternal resolve hung in space, completely unharmed. But it was different now. Its hull had changed. Where the weapons had hit, new armor had grown. Strange patterns covered its surface, pulsing with their own light. "It's impossible," Bekvar whispered. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." On the human ship, Captain Jinha stood calmly on his bridge. Around him, the walls glowed with soft light. The ship was not just undamaged, it was stronger. "Hurin," he said. "Report?" "The ship absorbed their energy," she replied. Her voice came from everywhere at once. "We have learned their weapon patterns. We are now immune to their attacks. And our weapons?" "Ready, Captain. The ship wants to show them what we have learned." Nha nodded. "Then let's teach them." The eternal resolve began to move. It was massive, 5 kilometers of living metal and organic curves. But it moved like a bird, like a fish, like something that had been born to fly through the void. The alien ships tried to track it, but their computers could not keep up. The human vessel was too fast, too unpredictable. It flowed around their formation like water around rocks. "Fire! Fire everything!" Bekvar screamed. The alien fleet fired again. Hundreds of weapons lit up the darkness. But the human ship was no longer where they were aiming. It had moved before they could pull the trigger. Then the eternal resolve struck back. Its weapons were not like the aliens' crude energy beams. They were smart. They could think. They curved through space, finding weak points in enemy shields. They studied each target before striking, learning the best way to hurt. Without killing, the first alien ship to be hit was a cruiser. The human weapon touched its hull and seemed to taste it. Then the ship's engines simply stopped working. It drifted in space, helpless but alive. "How?" Bekvar asked. "How are they doing this?" His answer came from Quan, watching his screens. On the human ship, the young engineer's eyes were wide with amazement. "Captain," he said, "the ship is not just fighting. It is learning. It reads their computer systems, their life support, their thoughts. It knows exactly where to hit to disable without destroying." "That is mercy," Jinha said. "Something they seem to have forgotten." The battle continued, but it was not really a battle. It was a demonstration. The eternal resolve moved through the alien fleet like a teacher among children. It showed them how outmatched they were, how primitive their weapons seemed next to humanity's evolved technology. One by one, alien ships found themselves disabled. Not destroyed, but helpless. Their weapons stopped working, their engines went dead. Their shields collapsed. But their crews lived. "This is impossible," Bekvar said again. "We are the masters of the galaxy. We have the most advanced technology. How can dead primitives defeat us?" His second-in-command, the crystal-headed officer, looked at his screens. With fear, "Sir, the human ship is not just avoiding our weapons, it is predicting them. It knows what we are going to do before we do it." On the human ship, Harin's consciousness flowed through the bio-neural networks. She could feel the alien ship's computer systems, could read their tactical plans before they were made. "Jinha," she said, "their strategy is simple. They rely on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers. They have never faced an enemy that could adapt. And their weaknesses? They think like machines, rigid, predictable. They have forgotten how to improvise, how to change, how to grow. They are exactly what we used to be before we learned to evolve." Jinha smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not kind either. "Then let's show them what evolution looks like." The eternal resolve began to change. Its hull rippled and shifted. New weapons appeared on its surface, growing like flowers made of metal and light. The ship was adapting in real time, becoming something new with each passing moment. The alien fleet watched in horror as the human vessel transformed before their eyes. It was not just a ship anymore. It was a living thing, a creature of space, and time and human will. "Admiral," one of his officers said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human ship." "Put it through," Bekvar said. Captain Jinha's face appeared on their screens. Behind him, the walls of his ship pulsed with organic light. The bridge itself seemed alive, responding to his thoughts and emotions. "Admiral Thekvar," Jinha said, "you are wondering how we can do this. How primitives can defeat the masters of the galaxy." Thekvar said nothing. He was too stunned to speak. "The answer is simple," Jinha continued. "You have forgotten what it means to fight for your life. You have grown soft, comfortable, predictable. You rule through fear and superior numbers. You have forgotten how to adapt." Around the Eternal Resolve, more human ships appeared. Each one was different, unique, alive. They moved like a school of fish, like a pack of wolves, like something that had learned to hunt together. "We are not the same species that left Earth 200 years ago," Jinha said. "We have evolved. We have learned to make our ships live, our weapons think, our will to survive into the deadliest force in the galaxy." One of the human ships moved close to Thekvar's flagship. It was smaller than the Eternal Resolve, but no less terrifying. Its hull was covered in what looked like eyes, all of them focused on the alien vessel. "You want to know our secret?" Jinha asked. "It is not our technology. It is not our weapons. It is our refusal to die. When our world burned, we did not give up. When you forgot us, we did not fade away. We became something new." The human ships began to move in formation. They circled the alien fleet like predators around prey, but they did not attack. They were waiting. "We offer you a choice," Jinha said. "Withdraw from this system. Leave the colonists alone. Go back to your council and tell them that humanity has returned." "And if we refuse?" Thekvar asked, finding his voice at last. Jinha's expression did not change. "Then we will show you what happens when you threaten our people. We will show you what 200 years of evolution has created. We will show you why the galaxy should fear the dark between stars." The human ships moved closer. The aliens could feel their presence like a weight on their souls. These were not machines. They were living things, hungry things, things that had learned to dance with death itself. "You have 30 seconds to decide," Jinha said. Thekvar looked at his fleet. Half of his ships were already disabled. The rest were helpless against enemies they could not understand. His crew looked at him with fear in their eyes. "Admiral," his second-in-command whispered, "what do we do?" Thekvar closed his eyes. He had commanded fleets across the galaxy. He had conquered worlds and destroyed civilizations. But he had never faced anything like this. "Signal the fleet," he said quietly. "All ships withdraw. Set course for the nearest council base." "Sir, you heard me?" "We are leaving." The alien fleet began to move away from the planet. The human ships watched them go, but did not follow. They had made their point as the last alien vessel jumped to hyperspace. Jinha stood on his bridge and looked at the planet below. 50,000 humans lived there, safe now from the Council's attack. "Harin," he said, "send a message to all human colonies. Tell them it has begun. Tell them we are no longer hiding." "And to the Council?" Jinha smiled. "They will hear about us soon enough. Admiral Thekvar will make sure of that." Deep in space, the Eternal Resolve and its sister ships began to patrol the system. They were guardians now, protectors of humanity's children. They had revealed themselves to the galaxy, and there was no going back. The dance of death was over. But the real war was just beginning. In the deepest files of the Galactic Council, alarms began to ring. A message had arrived from Admiral Thekvar's fleet. A message that would change everything. Humanity was not extinct. They were evolved. And they were angry. The galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council had not held an emergency meeting in 300 years. The last time was when the Void Plague had threatened to destroy all life in the galaxy. Now, representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in the Great Chamber, their faces filled with fear and confusion. High Counselor Vexstar stood at the center of the room. He was old, even for his long-lived species. His silver skin was marked with the scars of countless battles, and his 6 eyes had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. "Fellow counselors," he began, his voice echoing through the chamber, We have received a message that changes everything we thought we knew about our galaxy. The room fell silent. Every being present could feel the weight of the moment. Admiral Vekvar of the Vorthic Empire reports that he has made contact with humanity, Vexstar continued. A species we believe to be extinct for 2 centuries. Wave of shocked voices filled the chamber. Some species had never heard of humans. Others remembered them only as primitive beings who had destroyed their own world. "This is impossible," shouted Counselor Zethra, her crystal body flashing with angry light. "Our records clearly show that Earth burned in nuclear fire. The humans are dead." "That is what we believed," Vexstar replied. "We were wrong." The great screens around the chamber lit up. They showed images from Admiral Vekvar's fleet. The massive human ships, their organic hulls pulsing with life, the impossible grace with which they moved through space. The weapons that could think and adapt. "By the void," whispered Counselor Morduk, his tentacles curling in fear. "What are those things?" "Ships," Vexstar said simply. "But not like any we have ever seen. They are alive. They can think. They can learn. They are part machine, part creature, part something we do not understand." The images changed. Now they showed the battle itself. The human ships dancing through space, avoiding weapons that should have destroyed them. The alien fleet's attacks being absorbed and learned from. The careful, precise way the humans disabled their enemies without killing them. They showed mercy. Vexstar said, "They could have destroyed Admiral Vekvar's entire fleet. Instead, they chose to let them live." Mercy? Counselor Zethra's voice was sharp with disbelief. "They are primitives. They know nothing of mercy." "Then explain this," Vexstar said. The screens changed again. Now they showed Captain Jinha standing on the bridge of the Eternal Resolve. His, calm face, his steady voice, the living walls behind him that pulsed with organic light. "We are not the same species that left Earth 200 years ago," Ja's recorded voice said. "We have evolved." The chamber erupted in noise. Counselors argued, shouted, and demanded answers. But Vexstar raised his hand, and slowly the room fell quiet. "There is more," he said. "Our deep space sensors have detected movement in the void. Ships appearing and disappearing like ghosts. We believe the humans have been watching us for years, maybe decades." "How many?" asked Counselor Phalenix, his reptilian eyes wide with fear. "We do not know, but we estimate at least 50 ships like the one Admiral Vekvar encountered. Maybe more." The silence that followed was deafening. Every being in the chamber understood what this meant. A fleet of ships that could adapt, learn, and grow stronger with each battle. Ships that were part of their crews, that shared their thoughts. "And dreams, what do they want?" someone asked. "That," Vexstar said, "is what we are about to find out." The screens flickered. Then impossibly, Captain Jinha appeared before them. Not recorded this time, but live, speaking directly to the galactic council from somewhere in the void. "Honorable counselors," Jinha said, his voice calm and respectful. "I am Captain Jinha of the Terran Defense Force. I speak for humanity." The chamber was dead silent. Every eye, every sensor, every attention was focused on the human standing before them. "You believed us extinct," Ja continued. "You were wrong. We have been here all along, hidden in the spaces between stars, watching, learning, growing." Behind Jinha, the walls of his ship pulsed with organic light. The chamber could see other figures moving in the background. Humans, but not like the primitive beings from the old records. These were different, evolved. 200 years ago, our world nearly died," Jinha said. "War, pollution, hatred. Most of us perished, but some survived. We left our dying world and scattered across the galaxy. We found new homes in the darkness." The image changed. Now it showed human colonies on distant worlds. Cities built into asteroids, farming ships that grew food in the void, children playing in the light of alien stars. "We learned to survive." Jinha said, "We learned to adapt. We learned to make our machines live, our ships think, our will to survive into something beautiful and terrible. On the screen, Harin appeared beside Jinha. Her form was translucent, made of light and energy, but her eyes were human, warm, and alive. "I am Harin," she said. "I died 3 years ago. But I did not end. My consciousness lives in our ships. Now I am part of the eternal resolve, and it is part of me." The counselors stared in shock. They had heard rumors of species that could transfer consciousness, but they had never seen it done so perfectly. "This is impossible," Counselor Zethra whispered. "The technology required ... is beyond your understanding," Jinha said gently, "because you think of technology as separate from life. We have learned to make them one." The image changed again. Now it showed the inside of human ships, walls that breathed, corridors that pulsed with life. Humans working alongside their vessels, thinking together, planning together, becoming something greater than either could be alone. "We are not your enemies," Jinha said. "We do not want to conquer or destroy. We want to live in peace. But we will not allow you to hurt our people." Quan appeared on the screen. He was young, but his eyes held the wisdom of someone who had touched the edge of evolution itself. "We have been watching you for decades," he said. "We have seen how you rule through fear, how you destroy species that do not bow to your will, how you have forgotten what it means to grow, to change, to become something new. You call us primitives," Jinha said. "But we have done something you have never achieved. We have learned to make death itself serve life. We have turned our weakness into strength, our mortality into immortality." The chamber was filled with whispers. Some counselors were afraid, others were curious. A few were angry. "What do you want from us?" High Counselor Vextar asked. "Recognition," Jinha said simply. "We want you to acknowledge that we exist, that we have the right to live, and grow and explore the galaxy just as you do." "And if we refuse?" Jinha's expression did not change, but the walls behind him pulsed with a brighter light. "Then we will defend ourselves. And we will defend any species that you threaten without cause." The image changed one final time. Now it showed the human fleet in all its glory. Dozens of ships, each one unique, each one alive. They moved through space like a school of fish, like a pack of wolves, like something that had learned to hunt together. "We are the children of Earth," Jinha said. "We are the survivors of nuclear fire. We are the species that looked at extinction and said, no, we are humanity, and we have returned." The transmission ended. The chamber fell silent. High Counselor Vextar looked around the room. He saw fear in some faces, anger in others, and in a few something that might have been respect. "Fellow counselors," he said at last, "we have a choice to make. We can treat humanity as enemies and face a war against ships that can think and adapt. Or we can welcome them as equals and learn from what they have become. They are dangerous," Counselor Zethra said. "Their technology is beyond ours. Their ships are alive. They could destroy us all." "Yes," Vextar agreed, "they could. But they have chosen not to. They showed mercy to Admiral Vekvar's fleet. They could have announced themselves by destroying our worlds, but instead they chose to talk. The vote was close. Some species wanted war, others wanted peace, but in the end, wisdom won." "The motion passes," Vextar announced. "Humanity will be offered membership in the Galactic Council. They will be recognized as a sovereign species with the right to exist and grow." Deep in space, Captain Jinha received the message. He stood on the bridge of the Eternal Resolve, surrounded by his crew, his ship, his family. "Harin," he said, "what do you think?" "I think," she replied, her voice warm with emotion, "that we have given them a choice. Now we must see if they are wise enough to take it." The human fleet began to move. Not to attack, but to explore. To find new worlds, new challenges, new opportunities to grow and evolve. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had returned, and they had brought with them something the galaxy had forgotten: the will to change, to adapt, to become something greater than they were before. In the deepest archives of the Galactic Council, A new entry was made. Humanity, status, active, threat level, unknown, recommendation, proceed with caution. They are not what they seem. But some wise beings added, a note, they are exactly what we could become if we remember how to dream. 1 year had passed since the galaxy learned that humanity still existed. The Galactic Council station floated in space like a giant crystal, its halls filled with beings from 1,000 worlds. But today was different. Today, humanity was coming home. Captain Jinha stood in the docking bay of the Eternal Resolve, putting on his formal uniform. It was simple, blue and white, with no medals or decorations. He did not need them. Everyone in the galaxy knew who he was. Are you ready? Harin asked. Her holographic form appeared beside him, looking as real as any living person. As ready as anyone can be, Jinha replied. It feels strange, doesn't it? For 200 years we hid in the shadows. Now we're about to walk into the light. The galaxy has changed, Harin said. And so have we. This is just the beginning, Jinha nodded. Through the ship's bio-neural networks, he could feel the excitement of his crew. They were making history. They were proving that humanity belonged among the stars. The Eternal Resolve approached the Council station slowly. Around it, 12 other human ships moved in perfect formation. Each one was different, unique, alive. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Inside the station, beings from across the galaxy watched through the great windows. Some were afraid, others were curious, a few were angry, but all of them were fascinated. Look at them, whispered Counselor Phalenix to his companion. They move like they're dancing. They are dancing, replied Counselor Mordock. Dancing with the void itself. The human ships docked with gentle precision. Their hulls touched the station's metal walls, and for a moment the walls seemed to pulse with life. The station's computers detected something impossible. The human ships were communicating with the station itself, sharing information, making friends. Jinha walked through the docking tube and into the station. Behind him came his crew. Hara's hologram flickered and reformed, adapting to the station's systems. Quan carried a small device that pulsed with organic light. The aliens who met them were nervous. They had heard the stories, seen the videos, but nothing had prepared them for the reality of evolved humans. Welcome to the Galactic Council Station, said Commander Yexti, a tall being with purple skin and too many eyes. I am your liaison. Thank you, Jinha replied. We are honored to be here. As they walked through the station's corridors, other beings stopped to stare. These humans looked normal enough, but there was something different about them. They moved with perfect coordination, as if they could read each other's thoughts. Their eyes held depths that seemed to go on forever. The council is waiting, Commander Yexti said. They have many questions. I'm sure they do, Jinha said. We have been hiding for a long time. The council chamber was exactly as Jinha had seen it in the transmission. A vast room filled with beings from across the galaxy. But now he was here in person, standing at the center of their attention. High Counselor Vexstar rose from his chair. Captain Jinha, he said, you honor us with your presence. The honor is mine, Jinha replied. We have waited long to take our place among the stars. You have shown us wonders, Vexstar continued. Ships that live and think, consciousness that survives death, technology that adapts and grows. How did you achieve such things? Jinha smiled. We learned to stop fighting ourselves. For centuries, we saw technology as separate from life, mind as separate from body, individual as separate from community. We learned to make them one. Harin's hologram appeared beside him. I'm proof of this, she said. I died, but I did not end. My consciousness lives in our ships, in our networks, in the spaces between electrons and atoms. I am both individual and collective, both human and machine. The council members leaned forward, fascinated. They had never seen anything like this. But how? Asked Counselor Zethra. What technology allows this? It is not just technology, Quan said, stepping forward. It is evolution. We learned to grow our ships instead of building them. We learned to think together instead of alone. We learn to make our will to survive into something greater than ourselves. He held up the device he had been carrying. It pulsed with warm light, and the council members could feel something from it. Peace, love, the unshakable determination to protect and nurture life. This is a bio-neural core, Quan explained. It contains the thoughts and dreams of 10,000 humans, our hopes, our fears, our love for our children. We put our souls into our ships, and they carry us across the stars. Why? Asked Counselor Phalanx. Why share such intimate things with machines? Because they are not machines, Jinha said. They are partners, friends, family. We do not command our ships. We work with them, we dream with them. We become something. Greater together, the chamber fell silent. Every being present was trying to understand what they were hearing. You offer us membership in the council, Jinha continued. We accept, but we also offer something in return. We offer to share what we have learned, to help other species grow and evolve as we have. And if we refuse? Asked Counselor Zephyr. Jinha's expression did not change. Then we will continue to exist as we have, hidden in the spaces between stars. Watching, protecting those who need protection, growing stronger with each passing year. You would not attack us? We are not conquerors, Jinha said. We are gardeners. We plant seeds of possibility and watch them grow. We protect the innocent and teach those who wish to learn. We are what you could become if you choose to evolve. High Counselor Vexstar stood up. The council has voted. Humanity is welcomed as a full member. You will have representation, voice, and vote in all matters. We are honored, Jinha replied. But we have one condition. The chamber grew tense. What condition? We will not use our technology to harm the innocent. We will not share our weapons with those who would abuse them. We will not allow our evolution to be used for conquest or oppression. And if other species threaten you? Jinha smiled, but it was not a gentle smile. Then they will learn why the galaxy went silent when we first appeared. They will learn what happens when you threaten the children of Earth. The meeting continued for hours. Treaties were signed, agreements were made. Humanity officially joined the galactic community. But as the ceremonies ended and the dignitaries departed, the real work began. In the weeks that followed, human ships appeared throughout the galaxy. Not as conquerors, but as teachers. They shared their knowledge carefully, helping species that wanted to grow and learn. Some worlds welcomed them, others were suspicious. A few tried to attack them and learned why that was a mistake. The galaxy began to change. Young beings from many species asked to study aboard human ships. They wanted to learn how to make technology live, how to think together, how to evolve beyond their limitations. We are becoming something new, Harin said to Jinha as they watched a group of alien students working with human engineers. Not just human anymore, but not alien either. Something that bridges the gap between species. Is that good or bad? Jinha asked. It is evolution, Harin replied. It is growth. It is the future. On the bridge of the Eternal Resolve, Quan monitored the bio-neural networks. The ship was happy, he could tell. It had found its purpose. It was no longer just a weapon or a transport. It was a teacher, a protector, a bridge between worlds. Captain, he said, the ship wants to know if we can visit the Andromeda Galaxy. It's curious about what might be growing there. Jinha laughed. Tell it to be patient. We have plenty of work to do here first. Years passed, the galaxy grew and changed. Some species learned to make their ships live. Others discovered how to share consciousness across vast distances. A few even learned to cheat death as humans had, but not all change was welcome. There were those who saw humanity's evolution as a threat. They formed alliances, built weapons, prepared for war. They called themselves the Purity Coalition. They believed that each species should remain separate, pure, unchanging. They saw humanity's gifts as corruption, their evolution as disease. War is coming, Jinha said to his crew one day. They will try to stop us from growing, from changing, from becoming something new. Let them come, Harin said. We are not the weak, primitive species they think we are. We are the children of nuclear fire. We are the survivors of extinction. We are the species that learned to make death serve life. The human fleet gathered in the void between stars. Hundreds of ships now, each one unique, each one alive. They were no longer just humanity's protectors. They were evolution's guardians, the defenders of growth and change. Are you ready? Jinha asked his ship. The eternal resolve pulsed with excitement. Around it, the other ships sang in harmony. They were ready for whatever came next. In the deepest archives of the Galactic Council, a new entry was made: humanity. Status: ascendant. Threat level: absolute. Recommendation: do not oppose their evolution. They are not just changing themselves, they are changing the galaxy. But the wise beings who maintained the archives added a final note. They are what we all could become if we have the courage to grow. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had returned, and they had brought with them the most dangerous idea in the universe, that everything could change, everything could grow, everything could become something greater than it was before. And in the darkness between stars, new ships were being born.